to Anime and Us. I'm TJ.
I'm Shawn.
And we're the podcast that reviews anime from A to Z. Sort of. By the way, Shawn, I actually did the intro, and I missed the episode number. We're on episode 14.
Alright, guys. So, we spun the wheel for Leather L last week. Or last time, I'm sorry. It was because it's been...
Category.
Yeah, it's been a while, actually, since our last episode. And we got Little Busters. So Little Busters was created by JC's staff and aired between October 6, 2012 and 2013 in Japan. And as you could tell, the format of this is a little backwards because I usually do the intro. And
yeah, we did things a little different this time.
So what normally happens is me and Shawn watch just the first two episodes together, and then we watch it on our own. I usually finish first. And I got through most of the series when I called you and I said, don't watch this.
We're halfway through the week. We usually watch it in 1 week. We're halfway through the week, and I had only watched the 2 episodes that I had watched with TJ. So I was like, yes! All right. I'm usually, I procrastinate and I watch everything right at the last minute, typically.
Right. So, but I had finished, and so I'm watching the show, and the show's actually 3 seasons long, and I watched all 3 seasons.
Yeah, I noticed it was rather long.
And we were only going to do the first season, but like 24 episodes into this first season, this show is so batshit insane. I was like, I wanted to see if I can explain this to someone who has not.
2 episodes in, it was just plain terrible. I didn't want to watch it.
So,
it's just bad.
So you have context.
Yeah, I have a little bit of context. I know at least the very beginning of the show what it's based off of.
Right.
Its premise.
So I'm actually going to do like almost a mini full series review of this, because some of these points in here are necessary, and if you would have watched it, you would realize why these points are involved. But so I have to kind of explain to you what's going on for you to understand what's going on.
Well, yeah, okay.
So
let's do it.
I mean, you obviously watched the first episode.
Yeah.
So it was just an intro to the characters, which was this group of childhood friends are in high school. Mm-hmm. The main character's name's Riki, and he's the bland protagonist throughout the whole thing. There's really nothing about him. He's just there.
Which is very typical. A lot of protagonists are just bland slates.
Which he's there to pretty much bring in all the extra girls that are coming into this. Which just says it's a romance, and I'm just going to let it out of the bag now. This is based on a visual novel, almost like a dating sim. Mm-hmm. But the first series had almost none of that romance stuff, which was really odd considering. Mm. So it opens, and then the other 4 friends is the only girl in the group at the time is Rin, and she's like...
she's the one obsessed with cats, right?
She's the one obsessed with cats, but she's also cripplingly shy. Like, she cannot even deal with anybody else. She hides behind the protagonist anytime a new person's involved. Mm. And all this is important. Then there's the supposed comedy character, Masato, and he's like the muscle-bound comedy guy. And
he reminds me of the guy from Rurouni Kenshin or Samurai X.
Yeah. And then there's another friend called, his name's Kengo. He's like the kendo master, the very athletic guy. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning of the show, those two just out of nowhere, they say Kyosuke's back, and they run and they have this battle right in the first episode.
For no reason.
And then
at all. They're just throwing random things at each other.
And then the last friend, his name's Kyosuke. He's like the leader of the group, essentially. Mm-hmm. He comes in and he says, instead of fighting, everybody just throw random things whenever they get it. So, and this battle seems innocuous, but no, that comes back too. It's an important plot line.
It can't be.
It is. Everything you think is stupid, almost. There is some pretty good drama in this, believe it or not. But it's surrounded by the crap anime stuff that bogs down all anime. And when it's that crap anime stuff, it's so bad that you want to shoot yourself.
I noticed.
But when you get to the drama stuff, it's actually surprisingly good. But I'll get to that. So the first episode's just set up, essentially. Now, so they're all there. Kyosuke was out looking for a job. He's the leader. So he comes back and says, all right, we all need to do something to enjoy our last year together in school. And he says, all right, we're doing a baseball team. Out of nowhere. For no reason.
Yeah.
So he says there's only 5 of them, so they don't have enough for a full baseball team. So he trusts the protagonist, Ricky, to go find people for the baseball team. So, all right, he goes to the baseball team. You know where he goes to look? In the girls' dormitory. So,
yeah.
So, him and the other girl, Rin, that's in the group, they go in there. They get rejected a bunch of times. We're introduced to one of the other characters, Sasame, which ends up being Rin's rival throughout the whole thing, which is pretty unimportant in the first series, but comes back later in the third series, so that's important too. That's why I'm mentioning it. And then they pretty much, they don't find anybody, and then he follows some girl up onto the roof. And that was the end of the first episode. Second episode, we're introduced to Kamari. That's the girl, you know who she is. She's kind of blonde. Yeah, she's kind of childish.
Well, they all kind of are. But yeah, her specifically.
She's specifically built that way for a reason, though. She's kind of... So she's that way. And then... So they're talking, and he asks her if she wants... Because, the group's name is the Little Busters, for some reason.
It beats me.
So they came up with a group name, and that's the name of their baseball team. So Ricky asked Kamari if she wants to join, and then realized, wait, you're not really fit to play baseball. So he was like, okay, that's it, really. They're gone, and he leaves. That's the end of that scene out of nowhere. So then we go to Rin, who's obsessed with cats. This is where we're introduced to that plot point. And one of the cats has a note to it. 2 notes to it.
Oh, right, yeah, I remember.
One says, complete the task and you'll find out the secret to this world. And the other one is a task, which, if I had to write this down because I actually didn't remember this first task, which was to clean the boys' dorm.
Oh, right, yeah. And then it was like a few minutes later in the episode when they went to go clean this room, and we were like, what are they doing? Oh, wait, it was the task.
Yeah.
It was really just kind of thrown in there together. It didn't feel like it was a good transition.
Right, no, it was, so Ricky gathers up his friends and does this, and then Kamari, the person he had, comes in and helps. And then they're like, okay, I want to try out for baseball. So they try out. She's really bad at it, but then she says, baseball's about truth and love or some other shit. And Kyosuke, the leader, was like, you're perfect. You're in. And so she's part of the Little Busters. And that's how that episode ends. All right.
Oh, yeah, so from this point on, I haven't seen anything.
Yes.
This is where he called me up and said, hey, don't bother with it.
Yeah, this is... So, from here on in, he's completely in the dark. And forgive the rethink, because this is about 40 episodes I'm going through, and I have to read...
This is going to take forever.
I'm going to have to read through some of this stuff. A lot of it, I did start writing out longer notes, but by the end of it, it's literally 2 lines here, 2 lines there. So, in the third episode, Riki borrows the muscle guy Masato's idiom book, because apparently they have books in idioms in Japan for some reason. It's like a textbook.
Beats me. Well, could just be a thing for him in the episode. I don't know if it's a thing in Japan. Might be.
I don't know. But it was this whole big deal. He needed it back for a class, and it was all nothing but a whole roundabout way to introduce us to this third character. Her name's Yuki. And she's pretty much a genius, good at sports, good at everything and stuff like that. She's pretty much there to save the group when necessary and stuff like that. So Riki bumps into her by accident looking for this book, and she pretty much pulls him aside, and they start getting talking, and becomes interested in Little Busters and stuff like that. He gets the book back, and then by the end of the episode, she ends up joining the Little Busters. That's pretty much that episode for the most part. Oh, and she also, Masato and the muscle guy and the kendo guy fight again, but she intervenes, and she actually fights the muscle guy and beats him, but because she broke the rules, she said she lost. So she lost on purpose.
Jesus.
So by the way, that's the only fight that he wins, the muscle guy.
I can imagine.
Throughout the whole thing. He's all about muscles and stuff, and he loses everything. Alright. So, this is where things start to get crazy.
Yeah, now they start to get crazy?
No,
they were crazy in the first 2 episodes.
No, like, really crazy. Alright, the first thing that happens, we're introduced to the Lolly character.
Oh, God.
Like, seriously, she's younger than the rest. She's flat-chested, and she's always saying how she wants bigger boobs and stuff like that.
Jesus Christ.
And she has the most terrible Russian accent because she's Russian.
A Russian accent.
Yeah, she has, and it's so annoying, like beyond compare annoying.
I can imagine.
I mean, and from what I was reading, she's actually one of the popular characters in this show. And believe it or not, this show is pretty damn popular. Well, maybe not
people love their lollies. I don't get it.
The visual novel that this is based on is really popular. Mm. And from what I saw, I didn't see any negative reviews about the show at all. So, I mean, maybe we're just missing something.
I definitely missed something, but I only saw 2 episodes.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, just in everything we watch, it seems like...
I mean, there is a subculture, not really a subculture, the culture around anime is a culture that really likes anime, so they happen to really, really like a lot of these tropes and a lot of this bad storytelling. They really like it. I don't personally get it. I really like the good anime. This mediocre to bad anime, I could do without.
Right. Alright, so the Russian girl comes and she's moving in school and Ricky helps her move in. That's her intro, essentially. So this is where things start turning, like, from the comedy stuff to everything else. So Ricky goes and finds Kamari, the childish girl, upstairs, up on the roof sleeping, because that's her hangout for some reason. And she's talking in her sleep about her brother. So she didn't know he had a brother. So Ricky goes and asks Rin about if she has a brother. She's like, no, as far as I know, she doesn't have a brother. And then Kamari says, no, I don't have a brother. I just dreamed that I have a brother in my dreams. It's like, okay. So, I'm sorry.
So the loli is dreaming about
no,
brother?
No. Kamari. The Russian's the lolly girl.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes. Because Kamari actually looks like a 16-year-old girl. She just acts really childish. So. So Kamari is dreaming. That establishes the plot line. So she's going to a retirement home. She volunteers there at a retirement. So she asks Ricky to join. So the whole group decides they're going to go help at the retirement home. So they're all helping out and stuff like that. And Ricky comes across this old man who's cranky and always yells at them, and they get along and stuff. And Kamari says to him, well, he's always mean to me. Maybe now that you're talking, she goes in and he yells at him and runs away. Yeah, and he says, keep that girl away from me, the old man. So we're setting something up here. Mm-hmm. So then that ends that episode, and comes into the 5th episode. Kamari's still dreaming about her imaginary brother, and so Ricky goes and asks the grandfather about it, and it's her grandfather. She doesn't know that's her grandfather. He says, and he tells Ricky, if you care about her, don't pry into this, leave it alone. So later that night, has insomnia or whatever, and I forgot to mention in the 2nd episode, it's introduced that Ricky has narcolepsy.
Oh right, yeah.
So
that was kind of random.
That's important too. So he just, at random parts in the show, he just falls asleep. So at night, he runs into Kamari, and she's thinking about her brother, and there's a meteor shower, and it's the romantic date thing, and she asks him if she will go on a date to help her find her memories. So they go to her childhood home, and then Ricky was like, what if we don't find anything about your brother? Is it really necessary that we find her? And then she jokingly says, will you be my brother? To Ricky. It was like, okay, this is getting weird. Now, at this
now
point...
it's getting weird.
Even weirder, But on the way home, it starts pouring, and they find a dead kitten. And then Kamari just starts uncontrollably sobbing, like crazy sobbing, and the episode ends. It's like...
Pick the cat up.
It's like, the cat's dead.
Oh, the cat's dead.
It's a dead kitten.
You didn't say that.
No, I said that.
I thought you said it was a sopping one. I'm sorry.
It was raining.
Okay.
And it was a dead kitten.
Oh.
So, this is where we get Kamari's backstory. Apparently, when she was little, her brother was really sick.
Oh, that's why she wants a brother.
And he died while she was in his hospital bed.
Next to him?
Yeah, he was in the bed with him. She was in the bed with him. And they were talking and stuff, and he was like, and he says to her, he says, Kamari, whatever happens next, this is just a dream. None of this is real. She falls asleep and he dies. So, that's where, So she goes into this state of denial now because she just thinks it was a dream. And every time she's faced with death, she freaks out, essentially. And it's like, and remembers everything all over again and starts going insane. Like, she's now thinking Ricky is her brother at this point. Like, seriously mentally ill stuff here. And so she's like, okay, you're my brother. And Ricky's like, well, and then the grandfather he goes back to the grandfather says, this happens every time she's faced with mortality. Give it a couple weeks, she'll go back to the way she was. Ricky's like, that's stupid. No, she's got to face this.
Yeah, you got to fix it.
You got to face this. And so the brother had drawn her a picture book about the story. So Ricky goes and he finishes the picture book for her, gives it to her, makes her face everything. And she, of course, happy ending. And she comes to terms with everything. Episode ends. And then it kind of gives end credits like it was a movie. And it does like 4 times throughout the show. There's 4 of these arcs. Of these crazy drama arcs. And it was just like, that came out of nowhere.
I didn't really expect... I would never have expected after watching the first 2 episodes that on, episode 5? Episode 6? Something like that. That it would have gotten not only so serious, but in depth. Like, that shows some planning. And the first 2 episodes just were not showing that kind of planning.
Right, no. But there is a whole storyline going on here that no one knows about. Which is where I was like... It kind of, at this point, I'm really not liking the show, but I'm so engaged in wanting to know what the hell's going on.
You're really like that. See, me, I could have turned that off and never watched another episode.
Yeah,
I'd have been happy. I was happy.
I had to know what the hell was happening, and it had me. And I was like, I kept going and going and going. It wasn't at this point I called you, though. I was like 23 episodes in when I called you. So, let's see. So the next episode, we're just introduced to the next girl that's coming into the group. Her name's Haruko. She's like a troublemaker and stuff like that.
They're getting every kind of personality out there, aren't they?
Well, she's a foil to the next intro. Her name's Kanata. She's the head of the disciplinary committee.
Oh, Jesus. That's a big thing in
their
schools. Or at least they portray it in anime as a big thing.
So, and they look exactly alike, too. Except, one's, like, slightly bigger than the other.
Bigger?
Always. And their hair is a little different. But they have, like, the same jewels in their hair and stuff like that, so they look almost identical. But they're complete opposites. And it's pretty much her getting in trouble, and then the disciplinary committee's accusing her of stealing drinks that she didn't steal, and Riki paying for her drinks, and solving the problem, and then she joins the Little Busters at the end. That was that episode. It was just an introductory. The 8th episode is the Lolly character, the Russian girl. Mm-hmm. She needs a roommate.
Oh, Jesus.
What
will we do? Yeah,
all the other girls that are in the group have personal reasons why they can't join.
I'm sure everyone has a reason why they don't want to be her roommate.
So, and then we're introduced to this other girl, this sickly girl named Mio, who's reading a book. She can't be her roommate because all of her books might fall on top of her and kill her or something like that. They're all stupid reasons. It was just one giant thing to show that the head of the disciplinary committee is actually nice and actually takes her in as a roommate. Mm-hmm. That's all that episode was. Because that's important later, too. Alright. Let's see. Episode 9 is the second task from the cats.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
More tasks?
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. So, apparently, all the cafeteria ladies are not showing up.
No one's making lunch.
So there's no lunch. And at this point, Ricky's like, how does this person know this? Because everybody just called in sick that day, apparently. Where is these tasks coming from? He's suspicious about these tasks.
At least someone is.
So they go, and the whole Little Busters, they make meals, and it's a stupid episode like that. And pretty much at the end of it, he passes out from narcolepsy, and then the leader, Kyosuke, brings him back to the cafeteria, and they all eat together. That's that episode. It was stupid. I can't read my own writing. I'm sorry. Alright, so the next episode is pretty much bringing the sickly girl, Mio, into the group. So they're playing baseball.
What's she going to do? Keep score?
Well, I'll get to that. Her story is insane, too. So, they're playing practice because that's what they do in between things. There's practicing going on. They never actually play a game. So they're practicing. The ball gets hit next to the girl, and Ricky starts talking to the girl Mia. And he says, "You want to join?" And she's like, "No, I can't join. I'm sick. I have physical ailments." And she's always got a parasol.
Oh God, yeah, that's a big thing.
Parasol, and and as a result of her parasol and her being out of the way and stuff, the kids are calling her shadowless for some reason, which ends up being important. so then she loses her favorite book, and then the really smart girl enlists Ricky to help them find her book, and they find the book. That's that episode. So
filler,
pretty much. Oh, and at the end of the episode, Neo comes and watches them play. And then the next episode is a haunted house episode.
Oh Jesus! Just another trope.
The main character sets up a haunted house, and hijinks ensue. Nothing.
That's it.
Nothing.
Another filler.
Oh, and at the end of it, an eagle comes and attacks the leader, and apparently it was this eagle from when he was little. He came and found him out of nowhere.
An eagle.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
I don't even think eagles are native to Japan.
I don't know.
I don't think they are.
I don't know. I have no idea, but that's what happened. So, okay. Hold on. It's a lot of talking I'm going through here.
It needs a little water. Gotta wet the whistle.
Alright. So the next episode, they make Mio, the sick girl, a part of the group, but she's their manager.
Oh, there you go. Scorekeeper, manager, same shit.
Yes. So, after she becomes a manager, she gets all their phone numbers, and hijinks ensue. And then they join a poetry contest where she helps them make what's the poems where you do syllable?
Haiku?
Yeah, it's called something else.
It's
called Tanaka and
okay.
Or something. A Tanaka poetry contest. And so that's all set up for the drama that's about to ensue. Because you thought the last one was weird. Ricky was in town earlier today and seen a girl that looked exactly like her, Mio, and comes back, and Mio asks her about it, and she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then she's absent the next day, and the other girls and the other kids don't seem to notice at all, and that's pretty much set up for the next episode, where everybody's starting to forget Mio, the girl, like she never existed. And this other girl's showing up.
Something supernatural.
This other girl's showing up out of nowhere. And eventually it gets to the point where everybody's recognizing this other girl and forgetting completely about Mio except for Riki.
Mm.
So, and this new girl's name's Midori. She has a different name and everything else. So he finally finds Mio, and they go to a beach. And then Midori shows up. So they're both in the same spot, so there's two different people now. And Midori explains why Mio has the parasol all the time. Because apparently Mio doesn't have a shadow.
Oh my God.
Because Midori is the shadow. So, apparently when she was little, Mio had an imaginary sister named Midori.
Mm.
So... This is so ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it sounds pretty ridiculous.
So, but her mother sent her to a mental institute.
Yeah, I bet she did.
And she started forgetting.
Mother's got some sense.
And she forgot Midori. But when she came back, and then Midori's starting to manifest again and take over essentially Mio's
personality or
her existence
Okay.
essentially, because. And Mio's okay with this because she's like this quiet, reserved girl, and she just wants to fade into nothingness.
Oh, Jesus.
So she turns into a bird and flies away.
Oh, my God.
But Riki is so distraught about this thing he'll never forget. It brings her back into existence.
And Phoenix rises.
And convinces the two girls to become one again. And they do. And now they have Mio's back and has her shadow again.
She's not sick anymore?
Well, she's still sick.
She's still sick.
She's still sickly. She doesn't play the game. But she pretty much convinces them to not forget, and Mia's got back. Everyone remembers her, and all's hunky-dory. And then we have that end movie scene.
Oh, another end movie. It's another arc gone.
Yeah, that's a whole nother arc gone. And at this point, I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? And this is after I read everything, watched everything, I looked this up, and this is where the visual novel stuff comes up. Because the visual novel, each girl has her own arc. So, essentially, you go through and play the arc, and it cancels that arc out. And then you go and play the other arcs. So each one of these things is an arc from the visual novel, essentially, that you would just play through in one playthrough that's not supposed to connect to everything else. Mm-hmm. So that's what's going on here. Alright. So, then of course we have the big drama arc. We have to have a comedy arc the next episode. Mm-hmm. So, they're having a sleepover.
Oh, sleepover.
All the girls are having a sleepover, and they want Riki to come and join the sleepover. But they're not treating them like, it's a harem thing. Even though they say, you thought this was going to be a whole harem, didn't you? And Riki is really, against being with any of them, it seems like, throughout the whole first series. He's, against everything. So when second series, it gets weird. But so in this, so they're treating him like a girl. They dress him up like a girl.
Oh, Christ.
And stuff like that.
I guess he probably hasn't at puberty yet. The depiction of him looked really tiny.
I don't know. But so they're being laid out, so the disciplinary committee comes up, and boys are not supposed to be there, but he's dressed like a girl, so he looks like a girl. They think she's a new student and stuff like that. And of course there's the obligatory bath scenes.
Oh, of course.
So 2 girls.
What episode was this? 15. Which one? 50. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Why?
Just joking.
So but I'll give it credit. Other than this scene, and in the second episode where they showed Kamari's underwear, there was no fan service in this show. Mm. So, which is surprising considering they created a whole new visual novels based on this called Little Buster's Ecstasy that has hentai scenes in it.
Oh, Christ.
So,
did you watch that?
No. That's a visual novel.
Oh, okay. They didn't make that into episodes.
No, they remade the original game, the visual novel, into an ecstasy game with hentai scenes where at the end of each arc I assume they
get it on.
They get it on. Yeah. So that's what I seen.
That's
so I'm surprised that there wasn't more fan service and
considering that's a bit surprising.
But so that there are bath scenes, and this is where you kind of learn that the Yuki girl, even though they portray her later, she's really into the girls.
Jesus.
But they don't at any point reference that, but I think if this was not Japan, she would definitely be. Mm-hmm. And there's another 2 that I think really had real good chemistry that really should have been together, but that doesn't end up happening because it's Japan and they don't really do that stuff over there. So that was that one. So episodes 16 through, let me see here, 18 is Haruko's drama arc. So, Haruko is the troublemaker girl.
Okay.
So, what ends up happening is she likes a bench and it gets broken, and she tries to fix it. Disciplinary committee doesn't like it. So, which brings them to head to head. There's a trial for her.
Trying to fix a bench.
Because she's a troublemaker and there's just a lot of offenses and stuff like that. So all that sparks into her and the main leader of the disciplinary committee fighting. They're apparently twins and sisters. But because of some Japanese culture, and I don't know if this is true, in their family, every woman has 2 husbands.
Oh yeah, not that I've ever heard of.
So, and at least there's some kind of tradition.
I very much doubt that. That's just probably a thing for the anime.
Well, anyway, so the mom was with the 2 husbands close together, and so two different daughters from 2 different fathers from one mom. One of the fathers went to jail for attempted murder.
Huh.
Murder.
She could pick him.
So that brings disgrace on the whole family, essentially. So one of the girls is the daughter of a convict, and the other one's not. And so they're also the heirs to the family. So when they were children, they're comparing them all the time, trying to figure out which one's going to be the heir. And then the disciplinary committee ended up winning out. So what they end up doing is they took the other girl, the Haruko, who's part of the group, and pretty much abused and beat her.
Oh, Jesus.
Separately. Kept her separate from everything, pretty much, because she was used as a tool to beat on for the other family's rage that they're apparently trying to marry into and stuff like that. And she was just abused all the time as a kid.
She's the troublemaker, right?
She's the troublemaker.
That makes sense.
And so the troublemaker blames the sister for
Yes.
this. But the sister was actually being abused too, because anytime Haruko...
Yeah, I assume. I would say yeah.
So anytime Haruko was out of line, she would take the brunt of it, and she was actually protecting her sister from a lot of stuff, but she had to be mean to her sister because that was the rules, because she's not allowed to be associated with her sister in there. So there's a whole child abuse angle going on here and everything else, and so out of nowhere, there's flyers all over showing that Haruko's dad is a criminal all over the school from like thousands of papers. So now there's rumors going on about it. They're just trying to destroy this girl, essentially. So by the end of the episode, though, the arc, the sisters pretty much make up because...
Yeah, I guess she finds out.
They find out each other. They go to their real parents and find out the truth that happened there. Apparently, they wanted to get away from the family, the parents, but they wouldn't let the two girls go. So the father that is a prisoner came in and tried to get the girls and accidentally set a fire trying to get his daughters, essentially, and they sent him to jail for it. So he was actually kind of innocent and everything, too.
Oh, okay. That makes sense now.
So, this other family is despicable. I mean, like, I'm watching it. There's a lot more that goes into it. I don't understand how they aren't in jail for as much abuse as they put these girls through.
I mean, it happens here, too, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, but this is...
People don't go to jail unless they get told on.
The disciplinary girl can't even wear short sleeve sleeves because her arms are so scarred.
Oh, scarred.
Scarred.
Yeah, I mean, there's people like that here too in America.
I mean, but
it happens.
But it's just like bad. Like seriously.
Real quick before we go any further, this reminds me a lot of a much better anime called Great Teacher Onizuka GTO. Mm-hmm. It's a comedy. It's very lighthearted, but every few episodes they get really serious. And he's a teacher, and it's usually a student, and he has to fix something at home with them. It's reminding me a lot of that, just not quite as good.
Right, and I'm not gonna lie, this first series is not that good at all.
It sounds pretty bad. Oh. It just seems like the same kind of setup, just done worse.
I was actively wanting to shoot myself at points of it. To be honest with you, I was just like, this is so bad. But the drama was so good, I couldn't help.
I can't stop.
It's
like crack.
It's like, what the hell? What the hell?
Just get 5 more episodes in, there'll be another.
What
drama.
the hell is going on with this thing? And it's like this. There's a good story wanting to come out here. What is going on? So that's her arc, and then of course, the next episode is back to lightheartedness.
Yeah.
So the Russian girl comes forth in front, and she's having trouble learning English. She's in school, so they're all worried about the big proficiency test that's coming up. So they're all trying to help her pass. She ends up failing the test. So all the other people in the group fail on purpose, and they all join the remedial class together. That was that episode. Alright, 20 is the third task from the cats, and they have to cure this kid's love sickness. This kid is apparently in love with Rin's rival, so Rin's gotta help him out, and so they kind of come to terms, and they talk to the rival, that they fight, and, you know, the stupid rival storyline, and eventually Rin gets her email, gives it to the boys. That's pass, essentially. 21 to 23 is the Russian girl's drama arc.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like it was riveting.
So, her past is she's traveling the world with her grandfather because her mother's an astronaut in some Russian country. So she's been traveling the world. So it's pretty much focusing on her past and how she loves space, and she's actually really smart in like physics and stuff like that.
I wonder what a Russian Japanese accent sounds like. Not in English, you know what I mean? Like they're speaking Japanese, but she's Russian. I wonder what that sounded like.
I don't know, but it's not good in English.
Yeah, you said it was pretty terrible.
So at the end of the episode, they show that there's a space launch going off in her mother's hometown. Mother's the astronaut, and then the launch goes off, and the rocket explodes.
Oh, shit.
So everybody thinks the mother's dead.
Is she not?
But so the next episode is her mother was actually a hero in Russia because of her accomplishments and stuff like that. So, because after the rocket explodes, riots and stuff happen in this made-up country, or I don't even know if it's made up, but it seems like it's in like Central America, Russian-owned territory.
Yeah, that sounds pretty made up.
So, but there's riots going on. No one can get out of the country, but they're going to allow her to go into the country to find out what happened to her mother because her mother's a hero. And the whole episode is pretty much her deciding whether or not she's going to go and see what happened to their mother, which is stupid. Go see what happened, you know?
Yeah, it's your mom.
Essentially, that was the big fight, dilemma in this one. So she does. She ends up going. So the next episode is just, they show the other kids watching on TV, like the Rockets and News, and then we go to that country with the little Russian girl. She's in hiding with her grandfather in this house while rebels are going around. Then the grandfather says, "Your mother's alive. I'm going to go get her. You stay here." Alone in the house.
Oh, God. In this third world country.
In this third world country.
This little girl.
Yeah, which was stupid. Which was extremely stupid, because as soon as he leaves, like 5 minutes later, the house gets blown up, and she's captured by rebels. The next scene, they have her chained up in a cave.
In a cave.
Like this, by one arm. So... It's really getting out there. So, in the previous episode, she was throwing away all her space stuff because she thought she actually wanted to be an astronaut herself, but she was too stupid. and couldn't do it. So she dropped out and ran away to Japan, so she feels like she let her mother down. And that's why she didn't want to go. That was pretty much the whole dilemma. So she was throwing her stuff. So Riki, the main character, gets her stuff back as stuff, but keeps one of these gears that was in there because her mother said everybody's a gear in the main thing, and just be the gear that you can be.
Fucking communism.
So it's a broken gear. Riki has it. She's chained up in there. Riki pretty much holds it to its chest like this. It vanishes magically.
The gear?
The gear.
Oh, Jesus.
It appears in the Russian girl's hand. Lights up.
Why?
She slams it against the shackles, frees herself.
My brain's hurting.
Magic out of nowhere. Because at least the other arcs, the child abuse arc, the brother arc, and even the shadow arc, you could explain that was just mental illness. Seemed like it was all based in reality. But magic just came out of nowhere now. Now I'm really freaking out. What the hell is going on with the show?
Whatever it wants.
So it breaks. She breaks the change and she comes back to Japan after she reconciles and everything else. That's the end of that episode. And those 3 episodes, then, the end movie scenes. Mm-hmm. So then we get to the 24. Episode 24 is the 4th task from the cats. And the task is to put on a puppet show for these kids. Because the other kids, these 2 kids, broke this one girl's puppet and she was upset. So now she's got to put a puppet show on for the kids. So Kamari and Rin make the puppets, and they do the puppet show, and task complete. But at the end of this episode, they show Kamari and Rin talking on top of the roof. This is where I realized those 2 had really good chemistry, and they should have really been in a relationship, because the way those 2 were acting seemed like they were perfect for each other. So at the end, they were like, she has stars in her hair, and she said they're wishes, essentially. One's wish for me, one's for you, Rin. So it was obvious. This is what should happen, but it's not where it goes at all because it's based on an individual novel. So that was that episode. So 25th episode, Kyosuke announces that they're going to have their first game, their first game, and they're going to be playing against all the leaders of all the other sports groups.
So all those leaders are just going to become a team?
Yeah, all like the leader of the swing club, the kendo club.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. At their school.
At their school, yeah. So every leader of every sports team against them. But they're still one player short. The kendo guy, one of the best friends.
Yes, he said he wouldn't play in the first two episodes.
He wasn't going. So now they're going to convince him to play. So this is where we're introduced to his one episode character arc. There's this girl called Miyuki. She had her eye shot out in an archery accident because she was really good at archery and stuff like that. So an accident, she can't do archery.
Well, she wasn't that good. She shot her own eye out.
I don't think she shot her own eye out.
Hey, it happened.
I think someone else shot her in the eye because...
If she was that good, she'd have dodged it.
But my point is, you can't really shoot your own eye out with an arrow.
You can.
Unless you shoot straight up the air. And
you hold it backwards, right? Right in your face.
I guess.
Like shooting yourself in the face with a gun. You can do it.
I think it's a little harder.
It's a lot harder, but you can still do it.
Anyway. So, and they think this girl is his girlfriend or whatever. She's really not. But she goes up to the roof at one point and tries to commit suicide because for some reason the teachers are berating her and like saying, get off the roof when she's... clearly having like a panic attack, and she does it. She goes and falls off the roof. But what's his name? The guy with the Kengo? I can never remember his name. It's his
Which one? The Kendo dude?
Yeah, the Kendo dude.
Yeah, Kendo dude. Just him. That's his name.
Kengo. But it's so similar to Kendo. It's Kengo. That's why it's driving.
That was probably on purpose.
So it was like, so he jumps off the roof to save her, and he saves her.
How?
He lands in bushes. He breaks his...
She would have fucking landed in the bushes.
She landed on top of him, on top of the bushes. He breaks his leg. Or his arm. So he can't do kendo anymore. So now he's free to join the Little Busters.
One-armed baseball
But he's
player.
so powerful and strong that he can hit home runs with one arm. So, we're on to the last episode of the first series. And, so, it's the baseball game. Kyosuke, the leader, declares at that moment, Riki's the leader of the Little Busters now. He has to decide how everything goes.
Jesus.
So he's pretty much decided strategy and stuff like that. He's freaking out about being the leader. And they have the game, and the whole ending credits is them playing the game. And the ending credits shows them losing, like 18-10. And that's the end of the first series. Season. I'm sorry. First season. And if judging based on that alone, that first series, with the cliffhanger, with nothing to explain, is a 1. No doubt. Don't bother watching it.
Now, I have a question. You said there were 3 seasons. How many episodes were in the second and third season?
Second episode was 12 episodes. Third season was 8 episodes.
So, I'm reading through here real quick, and I saw, while you were talking, those 8 episodes were based on the ecstasy version of the visual novel.
Alright, I was going to get to it when I got to it. I was going to get to that when I got to it.
Alright. If you're listening at this point, keep listening. It's going to get better.
Yeah. I'm sorry this is like long-winded, but...
Yeah, we're at 45 minutes, so maybe take a break, come back and listen to it.
Yeah, because this is... But this is the only way I could thought to do it since you didn't watch it. And I needed to get this off my chest. I needed to explain this show. Like, because the process in which this happened was nuts. Alright, so the second series is called Little Busters Refrain. Now, in the original graphic novel, you completed all the arcs, and then the Refrain storyline comes up in the graphic novel. That's what the first season was based off of. The basic arcs. So now the second series is going to tackle all the answers to everything that happened, essentially.
Gotcha.
So, obviously, the first episode was up with a pancake party.
Oh, yeah, why not? Of course.
I think it was just showing, one last unity thing before everything falls apart. Because everything does fall apart in the weirdest, strangest way possible. So this first episode of Refrain is them having a pancake party, and then these 3 girls are mad at the really smart girl, Yuki, because she's thought she was better than everybody else and always made them feel belittled and stuff. So they start picking on the Little Busters people, and then Yuki's gets proof that they were the ones that sabotaging their backpacks and stuff like that. And she breaks the door, and they said if they ever mess with them again, she's going to kill them, and I actually believe that she would kill them. She breaks the door by kicking it, and then so the teachers come and say, who broke the door? The little busters pretty much take the blame, and as Yuki and Riki run away and don't get in trouble for it. That's the first episode. So the second episode, they say they were like wondering why Riki's out of sorts and stuff, that maybe he's in love with the Yuki girl. So apparently we're having a love storyline out of nowhere. So the guys are going to put on a fireworks show for the girls, and Kyosuke says, make sure you end up alone with Yuki at the end of the night. At the end of the night. So he doesn't try to do it. He's just like, I don't really feel that way about her. I'm just going to get all the girls together. And of course they end up alone together and watch the fireworks.
Right. A trope. Very common trope.
But the next day, he wakes up, and it's the same day. We're having Groundhog's Day.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We're having a Groundhog's Day.
So he has to...
But the scenes don't play out the same way. There's not a fireworks show. Him and Yuki are remembering everything that happened before. But the day's not progressing at all. And finally, at the end of the episode, after, they're like, what the hell's going on? Yuki says, all right, the day's going to come to an end. Make sure you protect Rin. He's like, what do you mean protect Rin? And that's the end of the episode. The next episode, she's gone. She's gone from the rest of the series, essentially.
Yeah.
Pretty much gone. And it's like, what? So, in the third episode, I forgot. In one of the first two episodes, narcolepsy hits again.
Unimportant.
No, it's actually it's probably the most important thing in the show, honestly. Believe it or not. That's why I keep mentioning. So, that was actually the second and third episode combined. I'm kind of really doing it. So, in the fourth episode, Rin, a girl tells Riki that he likes her, not one of the group. And he's like, oh, but he thinks of Rin. Mm-hmm. And then, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Kyosuke says that Rin was asked by a guy on a date. So she was like, and so when Riki confronts her about it, she's like, yeah, but why don't you just be my boyfriend? So now they're dating out of nowhere.
Jesus. Rin
and Riki, yeah. Riki. The two essentially protagonists of the show. Mm-hmm. Which I thought was out of nowhere, but when the ending comes, it makes sense. So, but then at the end of the episode, they get their final task from the cats to volunteer in homeroom the next day. So, the next episode, they volunteer in homeroom, and they have to take teachers or principals or something from another school on a tour of their school. And they're so impressed with Rin that even though she's shy and stuff like that, and even though Riki was kind of like the presentator and stuff like that, that they want her to come to their school because apparently there was a bus accident and a lot of the students died at the other school and everyone's in such down spirits. They want other students to come in and try and boost morale and stuff like that, and they figured she would be one to do it. At first they're against it because they just started dating, but Riki would finally come, maybe it's a good thing, and sends her off. But then at this, the cat with the he's getting suspicions, and the cat with the notes is revealed to be Kyosuke's cat. So he's been sending the notes and stuff. He's been seeing things before they happen, essentially. So now we have premonitions of in the show. So in the sixth episode, Rin's at the other school, and she's not doing well. He keeps calling her a child, and it pisses me off because he's such a child in it. So he's like, she's a child, she can't handle this on her own. She's a child. She's like, what are you talking about? He really makes me piss me off. I hate this character, Riki. I forgot to mention it back in the child abuse storyline. He's like, I'm going to save Haruko because to this twin sister. But twin sister, who are you to save anybody? It's arrogant to think that you need to save people and stuff like that, which is a really good line, which is why I want to throw it in there. But yeah, so he's just an interloper and involved in everybody's business throughout everything. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so he's like saying this. So he was like, and Kyosuke's like, for some reason has control over whether or not she goes to school or not. And he's like, no, it's not happening. So they have a baseball game to decide whether she gets to come back. It's Riki and Kengo, the kendo guy, versus Muscle Guy and Kyosuke. First one to hit 3 home runs wins. But it starts raining, so they narrow it down to 1 home run. And one of the two, Muscle Guy or Kyosuke, hits a home run. No, I'm sorry. Riki hits a home run, and then someone else hits a home run, and then it's Kengo's turn. And he's gonna... This is for the game. Essentially, Kyosuke's in the lead right now. Mm. So he's up to bat, and he's going... And all of a sudden, he gets a flash of the girl with the one eye. And he misses and loses, and he freaks out and starts beating up on Kyosuke, saying, how could you do that to me? Like, he made the flash appear out of nowhere. So now it's like you really have no idea what's going on. So then, episode 7, the whole series starts over again. Literally, from the first episode. It's the first episode completely all over again. The fight scene, from the very beginning comes back. They're about to go in there, except instead of Kyosuke coming in and refereeing, he's hiding in his room. So Riki tries to be the referee and says, this is what we're going to do. And they're like, who are you to be the leader? And they just fight and then they leave. Everything's gotten really dark and misshapen and stuff. So he's trying to put the little busters back together. But at this point, all the other side characters, except for the original 5, are gone.
Yeah.
They're completely gone from the series. Like, I don't know where they are. So they're not even like background characters or anything.
Yeah.
So he spends the next 2 episodes recruiting his friends back. The Muscle Guy is the first episode, and he goes on this like rampage. Like he's beating up kids in school and stuff, like for no reason, because he's seeing himself for some reason. As he's fighting everybody himself, and eventually Riki beats him up, and like Kyosuke did when they were kids, and gets him to join. Mm-hmm. And then the next episode, they do the same thing with Kengo, and Kengo's being stubborn, and he just doesn't want to do it because he says you're doing what he did all over again. So they play baseball.
Yeah.
To see, and he's just like he loses Kengo, and I was like, I guess this is how it's supposed to be. We'll do this until the very end. So it goes in the next episode, which is a recap and a revelation of everything that happens. It's pretty much Kyosuke revealing what the hell's going on. This is the answer episode, essentially.
Enlighten me. The suspense is too much.
So, what had happened is that bus with all the kids was not from their school. That was them. They all crashed. Mm-hmm. And they're all dying in the crash right now. But Kyosuke and all the others managed to pull their consciousness together to create this world.
Oh, Jesus.
So Kyosuke is pretty much the god of this world.
Didn't expect this.
No.
No, I didn't expect this at all.
No. So everything that was nonsense and unexplainable in the series is now explained.
Yeah.
But throughout the whole episode of this episode, he's crawling towards something. He's bleeding and stuff. And he's explaining what he's doing and everything else, and why they created this world. So essentially, the only 2 people that got thrown from the bus were Riki and Rin. So they know he knows what's, I don't know how he knows what's going to happen, but essentially, Riki only has time to save Rin, but only if he overcomes his weaknesses and stuff. So he's been building those 2 up, trying to make them stronger. Everything that's been happening in that world has been happening over and over and over again until they got it right. Riki and Rin gets it right, essentially. Mm-hmm. So it's just been on repeat. So he's crawling forward. He finally finds something. He touches it. It's really hot, and he leans against it. It's the bus, and he's leaning against, and he puts his body against where the gas is leaking out so it doesn't explode and kill everybody, so that Rin and Riki have time to get out of it. So at the end of the episode, he's like explaining, I'm really dying here. I can't keep this world going anymore. So everybody's starting to fade. Everything's starting to fade around them. And they're playing baseball, just to enjoy the last moments together. And slowly every character is disappearing. Except for...
I almost wish I watched this now. Jesus.
Yeah, it's got really, really good at the end. And so everybody's disappearing. And then, so it's down to Kyosuke, Rin, and Riki. And then Kyosuke goes back to his room and waits as Riki and Rin are running away from this world that's disappearing in front of them. They escape back into reality as Kyosuke sits in this world and vanishes with it. Mm-hmm. The next 2 episodes is essentially them waking up in this wreck. So Riki and Rin wake up, Riki wakes up first, and he pulls Rin aside. Rin's still kind of in her own little world, so she's talking to Kamari throughout the episode in her mind, essentially, and she's like pretty much getting closure with everything and finishing her arc. Mm. So at the end of the episode, Riki's like, "No, I'm not going to leave everybody die. I'm going to go back and save everybody else. I'm not just going to save Rin." And he goes, narcolepsy hits. So the next episode, it's just Rin. And she comes to and she goes back to the bus instead of trying, pretty much doing the opposite of what Kyosuke wanted. So she goes and pretty much pulls Riki out of a coma, essentially, wakes him up, and the two of them manage to pull all the kids out of the wreck. But Kyosuke still's there, and the bus is about to explode.
He's the one holding the gas in?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's leaning about the bus. Everybody else is in there. Apparently, when the bus crashed, the muscle guy and the kendo guy saved Rin and Riki from the bulk of it. They kind of jumped over him and managed to get them out of the bus before anything happened. So everybody else is like unconscious and dying, but they managed to pull them all away. And then Kyosuke's like, "Just leave me. I'm dead. If I move, everything's gonna go on fire." It's got to have an epic ending. So they pull him away, and the bus goes on fire and explodes. They do manage to save everybody. So the ending is...
bus driver?
No, I don't actually know if they saved the bus driver. They didn't show the bus driver, but they didn't...
Well, you know what? He crashed the bus for them.
So I don't know what happened to the bus driver. But the epilogue, essentially, is the kids one by one coming back to school. But Kyosuke's in a coma. For like 3 months or whatever. And the flash shot is him finally coming back to school. And
that's interesting. That's the end of the second season?
That's the end of the second season.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to go that way.
No, neither did I. I was really impressed with the storytelling. I was just saddened that it wasn't throughout
the whole thing.
But
it being so weird and out of place kind of makes sense.
Right. It made everything make sense. And it really made me like, okay, well, this is not as bad as I thought it was. Yeah. I kind of understood why everything was split up and led to this
it didn't make any sense until this point.
Right. I mean, like I said, if you judge the first series on its own, it's bad. But if you combine it with this series, it's actually a pretty decent show.
Yeah, I can imagine. It sounds pretty decent.
So,
in my opinion, they shouldn't have made it 2 seasons. I mean, I understand 26 episodes for a season, which is the first season,
right, is
long enough as it is. But I don't think they should have made it into a second season.
I agree with you. They should have
just had a big-ass one season.
But I get why they did it. Because in the visual novel, there's a separate arc, and then it unlocks the refrain. Second season's supposed to be the unlock and refrain. Mm-hmm. So
I mean, that makes sense, because the whole visual novel.
Right. So I get that. But I think the visual novel stuff is what brings the whole series down, honestly. Mm-hmm. All right. So, but we're not done yet. We still got a third season to go through here.
This is the hentai stuff, right?
Kind of.
Did you get... Now, was it hentai enough to not be on the website we usually watch stuff on? Because that website's all anime.
No.
It wasn't hentai enough to not be on it?
It was on there.
Oh, it was on there? Okay. So
right. There was no...
It wasn't terrible.
There was
actual porn then.
No, there was no hentai in it, but it was very fan servicey. Like, so much jarringly fan servicey, consider the first 2 seasons had virtually none.
Yeah.
So, this is kind of interesting because it's the reason why it's based on the Ecstasy ones, because the Ecstasy version of the thing has 3 new arcs added to the story, 3 new stories for 3 different girls. And the Little Busters X, the 3rd season, is based on those 3 arcs. So the first 4 episodes are about this girl named, let me bring it up real quick. Saya is introduced shooting shadows with a gun. Mm. Yeah, this is also takes place before Refrain, before everything's revealed. So this is still in the world.
Yeah.
So she's shooting shadows, and then Riki comes across her. Alright, so Riki comes across her, and she pretty much says, run for the exit, because he doesn't know what's going on. He didn't see the gun or anything, and he does, but he ended up finding her ID on the ground, and he goes to return it. And she's all blushing when she meets him the next day and stuff like that. And so, the next part gets really strange, because now she starts to try to kill him. Literally, tries to kill him. They're on the roof, and she pushes him off of the roof, through a fence. He's only survived because the muscle guy catches him, because he was there. The second time she tries to kill him, she cut down electrical posts, so there's electrical wires on the ground. She's throwing water balloons at him, trying to set him
That's hilarious.
electrocuted him and stuff like that. And I didn't actually write it down, but there was a third time too. But eventually it all comes to the fact she says to him, oh, you're really lucky. You could be my partner. So you're going to help me fight the executors, which are these shadow guys. Because apparently she's a spy. And there's some kind of great treasure underneath the school. And Riki's like, okay, sure. So they're looking for it, and they find a switch. And behind one of the chalkboards is this hole down to a very video game or Dungeons and Dragons dungeon. Dungeons. And they're going through. There's traps and stuff. They're trying to figure out the traps and figure out, like, there's a boulder coming down Indiana Jones sides. There's poisonous snakes and stuff. And they get down to there, and they were like, well, Riki's like, we don't have any food or anything, and this seems to go on forever. You want to go back and get supplied and stuff? She was like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. So they go back, and she's like really childish a lot of times, and anytime anything miscommunication comes up, she gets all embarrassed and mad and stuff like that, which is important. That's why I'm bringing that up. So they go back and they have a little date essentially, where they get food, she plays the crane game and wins because she's a spy and stuff like that. And so they go back down to the dungeon the next day, and they get down to it, and there's this giant statue monster. And she's trying to shoot it, she can't shoot it, but there's a sword, Riki picks it up, and apparently the sword's an actual key that goes into the monster. They put it in, it kills the monster, another floor opens up, they go down, and this goes on. Then it comes down, they come to I guess you call it a healing spot in an RPG thing, which is what's it called? Hot spring.
Oh, Jesus.
Hot spring. Of course, she gets naked at that point because this is the ecstasy thing. So there's they don't show anything, but so they go down there and...
Does he see it?
Yes.
Oh.
Because he's actually turning around like this, and
looking
then...
up.
Huh?
Looking up, turning around, looking up. They can't see you.
He's not looking, but she screams because cold water drips on her, and so he's turning around trying to
make sure she's all right. And
then he sees everything. She goes down, and it's all an embarrassing moment. So they continue on, and eventually, Riki's like, "I remember you from somewhere, and I think I love you," and stuff like that. And they kiss, which really surprised me because there was no romantic stuff in this. In the series up until this point. And so they kiss, and they get to the bottom. They find the boss, which is a guy in a mask, and she says, from here I gotta do this myself. So bars come down, block Riki from helping him. She goes to fight him, and he shoots her in the head and kills her.
Oh, Christ.
And then we get a screen that says game over.
Now, was that the first 4 episodes? Or was that
no, that's the first 2.
First 2 episodes, okay.
Yes. Game over says retry or end game. And then the retry button happens, and then it starts all over again.
Huh.
So, this is pretty much happening over and over and over again. Apparently, she and Riki met when they were kids. Riki was her first friend. But she had got caught in a landslide when she was a kid and died. But her soul was wandering for so long that
it found its way into the
world.
Reality thing
the real world. Kiyosuke, they feeling bad for her because he could just easily expel her, let her stay, essentially, and pretty much made her. She's a hero from her favorite manga, which was one of his favorite mangas too. And the executors
that explains, the dungeon and all that.
So they're pretty much living out a manga over and over and over again until she gets it right, until she figures it out. And every time she does it, her and Riki fall in love over and over and over and over
Does he
again.
remember every time?
Not every time, but he starts to pick up on it every time. Which, this is the part where I was like, well, these two have chemistry. This should really be the relationship.
Yeah.
So, at the end, when she dies for the 1,000,000th time, she's about to die for like the 100th time, I think they said. And she was like, I'm ready for this to end. And he's like, okay, so you know what this is then. Kyosuke's saying, you know what this is. She's like, yeah, I know what this is. I know what I want the end treasure to be, because he can make it whatever he wants. Mm. So they get down there, and they finally actually beat Kyosuke as the main boss, because she uses Riki as a human shield, and he can't kill Riki because it's his world, you know what I mean? So she wins and goes down, and she had told Kyosuke to make the final weapon a biological weapon.
Yeah. So
she goes into the slab and locks the door, and she's exposed to this biological weapon in front of Riki, and shoots herself in front of Riki, kills herself, and that's pretty much the end of that. And it's revealed at the end that she wakes up, she's not dead, she's a little girl again. Mm-hmm. And that's it. She wakes up as a little girl, and that's how her story ends. I mean, they show...
Now, what episode are we on here?
This is 4.
4?
Yeah. But they show in the very last scene her as an adult being led away by Riki, so I don't know what that means.
That's just symbolic thing.
Yeah, so that was that. So the next 2 episodes are about Rin's rival, Sasame, I think is her name. Mm. And she's a cat. She gets turned into a cat. The first episode is actually before Reframe, and the second one's after Reframe. Mm-hmm. So, essentially, she gets turned into a cat, and the only one who can see her is Riki. What happened was, when she was little, she had a cat, left it behind. The cat comes and finds her, realizes she doesn't recognize it, so the cat creates its own little consciousness world for her, until she comes to the resolution about the cat. Mm-hmm. And pretty much says her goodbye to the cat. And that's pretty much it for those 2 episodes. On the last 2 episodes, we're back to the abused twins storyline. Mm. Where the head of the disciplinary committee girl is being forced to marry some guy. Mm. Essentially. So the episode is about... This happens after Refrain and everything else, after reveal. So this is back in the real world. So it's pretty much them trying to save her from the marriage. They do this whole kind of heist thing where they dress up as different things and stuff. And they get her out of there, and then the troublemaker girl and the disciplinary girl go live with their actual parents and leave that family behind. And that's pretty much those 2 episodes. It was just pretty much to tie up loose ends and introduce these 3 arcs and stuff like that. Give closure to everything. And that's pretty much it for the 3 seasons. So,
what would you rate it?
It depends on how much of it you watch. If you just
all of it. Well, yeah, you're right. If you just watch the first season, obviously it's terrible. No one should watch it.
It goes from a 1 to a 5, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. From the 2 seasons, what about all 3?
I don't think you need to watch the 3rd season.
Yeah, doesn't really add anything.
I mean, it does clear up some storyline stuff for the end of it, for like the abused twins, and then give some character to the Ren's rival that wasn't really there. If you're want closure for the entire series, and if you're really invested in it, then yeah, you should go watch it. But it's not really necessary. It doesn't really advance the plot. You won't learn anything new except for what happens afterward. Where it's essentially, it's still a 5 even with the 3rd season. So that's my opinion anyway.
Right.
And if honestly, even
it was interesting listening.
Yeah.
And seeing the revelation of,
right.
It's not a super retarded anime. It's half decent.
Yeah, it is half decent. And even the really bad parts of it, the first stuff, I can even argue that it's,
done on purpose.
It's done on purpose.
For sure it's done on purpose.
And it's enthralling enough that you want to know what happens. Mm. And it gets to points where sometimes it can be so bad that it turns good, too.
No, I don't know about that.
Too, just because the drama brings it up so much.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying that the bad stuff in itself turns good,
but that propels you to watch more.
Yeah. So, like I said, I would recommend you, if you really want to watch an anime that is different, I would watch it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it.
Okay.
Like,
That's interesting.
I'm not mad that I saw this, essentially.
Oh, yeah. We've been mad about a couple of them. So that's nice.
So, yeah, and it's just that second season really made up for everything, because originally we were just going to watch the first season.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Alright.
Alright, so, let's spin the wheel for category M.
No. Oh, I'll spin it for the letter M.
There's a lot of Gundam stuff in here.
There's a lot.
My Hero Academia, which is one of my current favorite anime that's airing, is on there.
Alright, let's spin this thing and see what happens.
There's a lot of stuff in general. It's a pretty big list. What do we got? Oh, I actually watched most of this already.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It's
Masame Kun's Revenge.
It's interesting. I'm not going to give anything away before the next episode.
Okay. Well, that's good that you already watched it, then.
Part of it's funny. Part of it's bad.
Well, it's typical.
All right.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you next time.
See ya.